Hey folks, 6:30. It's time to write. Welcome to the Fantasy Livewrite. We're going to be continuing. Last week we designed a cover for the book. I don't have the book in here. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the book. Okay, yes. Last week I streamed designing the cover for this, so it's out. Now you can get it. And I'm going to link it right now. This will only be available through the end of January, and then it's gone. That'll be it. Apparently I can't look at the chat. Give me a second. There we go. Okay. So yeah, here it is. We designed the cover. Now, I didn't stream turning this into a full wrap paperback. I have videos on how to do that. So if you're really interested in seeing me do something like that, I've done it before. I can kind of show you how to do it with the document open. But this is what it looks like. It's really big. Maybe I can get it to focus on me. There we go. It's really big. Here's a regular book by comparison. Okay. So this thing is huge. It's got 10 books in it. Only available through the end of January, so you can use your Amazon gift cards on it if you want. Or you can buy all the books separately after that. That works too. It even includes Bright Children, which was never... Music's a little loud. It even includes Bright Children, which was never in print before. So it's your first chance to get that book in print. Is with the Giant Christmas collection. So this week we're going to go back to the Prince of Twilight, and we're going to work a little bit more on that. We are about 85,000 words deep in that, and that's good. You know, that's a good good place to be. Whole thing should take 100,000 words or more. By the time we get done with it and finish and wrap everything up, I'd love to finish it before the new year, but we'll see. You know, I had a lot of disruptive things. I've been so tired. I haven't slept very much. It's been a really rough month. But yeah, so that'll be... We'll finish that up, then I'll edit that live. We'll revise it, design a cover, figure that out, and get it prepped for release. Do the whole thing live like we've been doing, so that's pretty fun. Okay, where are we? Here we are. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Ah yes, they're going into prison right now to save Pepin. Pepin the short. Save Pepin. Alfred's father. up, CJ?
No worries, CJ.
Thanks for joining me, Ronzilla. Process is always fascinating. Plus, it's great to see others in focus in the creative process. Inspiring. Awesome. Thank you for dropping by. Got the new book. Link that. What else could we link? If you like the music, I have a whole channel of this stuff. This crap. So I'll link that. We're on improv number 87 is what we did. So, I want to do a lot more experimenting with that format before we get to 100. And once we get to 100, then we're going to shift gears and do something different musically. So, but I set out to do 100, so I'm going to do 100. I'm fixing the scope to 100. 100 live pieces. I think I'm going to do like maybe soundtrack to a game that doesn't exist. That'll be the next thing. That'll be fun. Yeah, so I'll edit this one live too. I edited the last one live for the other Livewrites. So they are there. So yeah, I've already done that, and I'll do that with this one too. But for now, we're just doing the drafting. If you do the drafting process well, there's always less editing to do. A lot less. Because there's two different kinds of editing. I've talked about this before. What a lot of people think is editing often isn't, and that's proofreading, right? Like sometimes you ship with typos. Sometimes it's stylistic things that, like as I've done this a while and published a lot, I realized that different readers have different stylistic expectations. To where I've had people say, "Hey, you made a mistake and wrote this word here and did this here." I'm like, those are all intentional choices because I'm pursuing a certain style. They're not actually wrong at all. But people are used to reading very modern writing where that is not really part of the style. Same thing with like comma use. If you're like, oh, you need to put a comma here. Like, actually, I don't. Or you shouldn't have a comma here. Actually, I can. I can have commas wherever I want. Or I can have no commas, right? You never hear this complaint when people read something like Blood Meridian. There's no punctuation in it. You know, it's just run-on sentences and no quotation marks. But they're okay with it because they like violent stories, I guess. Or because it's, you know, it's Cormac McCarthy, right? So people have interesting style standards, I figured out sometimes. And that's not necessary. I mean, that's kind of a function of editing. But a lot of times it's people just haven't read things before the 20th century. So they're not aware of like the full stylistic tradition of the language. But it's not like finding typos. That's proofreading. The first layer of editing that you do is like a structural edit. And if you do your planning and drafting phase correct, you really won't have to structurally edit at all. You don't really have to do much trimming, and you don't have to do much addition. There's always like some things that I decide after the fact that I don't like, or things like that, or I change sentences because I feel like, you know, I'm composing sentences based on how they sound in my head, how they sound. What does the speech sound like? And that drives everything about my style and the way that I use everything. But sometimes you go back and you read it again, you're like, that sentence sounds bad, so I'm going to rewrite it. So there's lots of little things like that. That's like part of editing. The big structural part, a lot of new writers have to do a lot on that, and I've had to do it on my early work when I go back and like republish it because you just don't realize there's certain things you just shouldn't put in the story. You write them and they shouldn't have been written, or you leave things out that should have been put in, and so you have to do that work, which is a more thorough kind of revision. It's like an actual rewrite revision process rather than merely like cleaning things up. So there's the structure, then there's, you know, stylistic line editing, and then there's proofreading. Some people call it copy editing, but I feel like that's more for sales, right? But that's like line editing, and then proofreading. Proofreading is really part of the publication phase. That's where you're getting the manuscript to look correct before you publish it, rather than doing any revision to the story. You know, putting in periods and stuff. You want to make sure that you have periods. No extra words. There's always going to be a couple that slip through. There's typos in Brandon Sanderson books. There's still typos in Harry Potter books after all these years. Every time they do a new edition, they may fix 2 typos and add 1 typo, or add 3 typos on accident. There's still typos in Lord of the Rings. It's kind of a typographical errors are often part of what ends up happening when you're making files. So it's really hard to ship with no typographical errors. There's usually a couple typographical errors. I've had typos on my title pages before, and I've seen Brandon Sanderson books that have typos on their title pages, because we often just ignore it. We're so focused on the text, we forget to like double check the front matter. And sometimes we make a mistake on the front matter, and it goes out that way, and you have to fix it after the fact, and that kind of stuff happens. As far as editing another author's work, that's not something that's like part of my that's not part of my business. Like, I can do it, and I've done it, but I don't sell that service because I don't really want to do that service. I have very little time to do this stuff, and so I prefer to spend my time doing what I'm really passionate about, which is making my own work and not editing other people's work. But, I think it could be useful. I think you're right. That might be a useful thing to look at, especially when it comes to like looking at the big stuff with stories. That's the stuff that is really going to make a difference. The stylistic choices that you make, like I can pull out best-selling books that have the worst style you can imagine, including like Cormac McCarthy's style. I'm not a fan of, and I really hate the lack of punctuation. But he's written popular books. But think of something like 50 Shades of Grey. The style of 50 Shades of Grey is terrible. Oh no, you know what? It has like the worst style of a best-selling book I could think of is The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games style is atrocious. I hate it. I think it's the most awkward reading thing I've ever tried to like fit into my head. I remember thinking Twilight had bad style, and then I read Hunger Games. I'm like, Twilight's awesome. But like, that can sell 1 million copies with style that a lot of the literati, let's say, would find atrocious, and I'm including myself in that. So clearly, like the ins and outs of style, whether you're are you trying to write like what E.B. White says to write for, the Strunk and White stuff? It's just not as important as the bigger story elements, and then that the style is able to communicate the right things to the reader, right? So writing in present tense just feels really weird to me, but if readers pick up on it and it makes it feel more visceral, then it can totally work. And I've even written in like second person, like you do this, you do that. Second person present tense, I've written stuff in that before, because it gives it actually a rather hypnotic effect. It's the same way that a hypnotist tells you to, like, guides you through an imagining. So second person can work, even though it's like, this is not a Strunk and White kind of style. Like, yeah, it's not, but that often doesn't matter. What matters is the story you're telling is more important, and the audience's response to the style. So I think there's a lot to think about there, right? Is that we want the prose to be functional and clear, and we never want the reader to be confused. I shouldn't say that, because sometimes you want to confuse the reader, I guess. If, that's kind of what Gene Wolfe does, right? Like, his stuff is intentionally obscure. It's intentionally not clear. It's intentionally esoteric, and does that make it better? I think in a lot of ways it actually does make it better. What is your character development? I don't know. My character development is I used to be a musician. I still am, but that was like my profession, and now I write books, and I'm a dad. I know each person has a different style. I don't think about it at all. I don't think about it. It's like asking Yngwie Malmsteen how he holds his pick. He's like, I just hold it in my hand and then I play, right? I don't think about it. It's not something I think about a lot. It's like, oh, this is how I'm developing this character. It's decided in the planning phase. And I did it for this. When I did the planning phase for this, we decided on how the characters would develop, right? So I think about where that character is in that story and what he's learned, and that's going to reflect how his attitude. You have like a base way of the character is this certain way, his nature and kind of where he starts, and then you add into that the things that he learns in the story, and that's where the character is. I don't try to force it and make a character, well, this character is going to go from a nerdy Omega to an Alpha. It's like, that's really hard. It'd be better to start with a guy who's a little higher up, So I don't think about it. I don't think about it a lot in the ways that I think other people do. I decide all that in the planning, and then I just go. I definitely need more practice doing proper editing for the big projects. I've just been rewriting an entire new draft, maybe smaller short stories to gain more experience doing it. Yeah, because then you could focus more. It's kind of like learning to polish one part of the car so it's really good before you move on to the next. I think writing short stories... So here's the caution about writing short stories. don't write short stories unless you read short stories. So many people get told this advice of, I need to write short stories to get better. And it's like, yeah, it'll make you better in some ways, but only if you know that style, because they're their own style. They're their own thing. So if you don't read a lot of short fiction, you're not going to be able to write short fiction. So you got to read some too. So that's my prelude for that. But yeah, you can do some short stuff. Sometimes, like, I've gone back and realized with older work that it would be, for the third Moonsong book, there was so much rewriting, so much revision, so much editing I did to that manuscript to bring it to market, that when I was done, I realized it would have been less work to outline what I wanted the story to be and have just started and written it again. Just drafted it again. It would have been less work than what I did. Where I was reading and considering and deleting and rearranging and rewriting sentences. I rewrote the book in essence, but it just was more work to rewrite than if I just said, I'm just going to start writing at chapter 1 again and not reuse anything. It would have been less work, because it just would have been. And so I did that for Moonsong 4. I just wrote it again, and I didn't look at the original at all, and it came out so much better, and it's such a more interesting story than what I originally wrote. It's crazy. And so for the 5th Moonsong book, I'm reusing a lot of stuff, because I think when I wrote that one, which was still 10 years ago I wrote it, I was at a better place as a writer. I'd had enough experience that at least the micro stuff was coming out much better, and the macro stuff was starting to come together as well. The thing, if you want to learn to write novels and you read a lot of novels, you need to write novels. Like, you have to give yourself a chance to write something big, because you're not going to learn how to structure anything big unless you try to do it. So, just try to do it. Rags to riches or riches to rags? Any preference? No. And I don't think I've written a story like that, so I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. All right. So if you're going to write a riches to rags story, it'd be good to write a riches to rags story that's not a tragedy. That's a comedy. That it's good that you lose your money. That'd be like the money story there. That'd be the good story there. Ad on my video. Boop, boop, boop. Awful music. There we go. I was trying to think of a name for this sword. I'm trying to remember, does Ava already have it? I'm going to make a note. Because I don't want to go back and reread because I haven't been looking at stuff. So make a little note there. So I thought Ava already ended up with it. But it could be Albert that has it right now. Albert's the one who's going to end up using it at the end. Need a good name. Something like Durandal. The one in Book of the New Sun was Terminus Est, which means the line, the termination, the boundary. It separates the head from the body. That's Terminus Est. This will be a new chapter here. Okay. 22. It's going to be. I'm gonna grab a little bit of soda real quick, so I'll be right back. Let's see. You can watch this. Alright, we're back. Me watching me, you watching me, watching me. Very fun. Alright. Let's see how much more we can get done. We got chapter 21 finished up, so that'll be out to patrons and everyone in the next day or two. Anyone that's watching, don't forget to grab the Christmas book. It's not actually a Christmas book, but it has 10 of these books in it. So it's 10 of the books. They're on the back here. So you get 10 books in one giant volume. PS Vita for scale. That's how big it is compared to a PS Vita. They're gonna... There it is. All right. How do you find to make IRL friends these days when you don't have much in common with most people I see walking down the street or at work? Or are the friends you meet on the internet plus or no? Well, both of those, right? So you often have more in common with your virtual communities than your real ones. I have friends and neighbors, and they're often very different from me or different ages, but we have certain things in common. We live in the same place, and I think a lot of times finding friends is about figuring out where that common ground is and to what purpose the friendship exists. So to kind of go on a tangent about some of my experience. The truth about friendships is that most of the friendships you have in your life will not last. Now that is going to sound very black-pilled, and it should be. It's a bitter pill. And as you get older, you're going to realize this more. And I think it's worse for my generation than for other generations. I think for younger generations, it's more difficult to make close friends. For my generation, it's like impossible to keep them. And there's a million reasons for that. But the big one is that most friendships are a matter of proximity, convenience, and that's it. It's proximity, not even like mutual aid. Like aid at least going one way. So this was a hard lesson I learned when I was young, is that, you go through high school and your friends in high school are friends because you're both prisoners, right? It's like having friends in prison. Once you all leave prison, you realize there's not a lot of reason to talk to them, especially if you have other people they have more in common with that you've met since then. So most of my high school friendships just kind of decayed because we were in different places. That's kind of like what it is getting out of prison, right? People went to different towns to go to college because, I came from a middle class background. So everybody went to some university and got into $1 billion worth of debt. Lovely ad. So yeah, everybody went to different places. Those things kind of fall away. You make new friends in college that you think you have more in common with, but it turns out like what you have in common is like maybe your major, or the fact that you work together, or the fact that you go to classes together, you see each other. Again, it's a proximity relationship. And then once that goes away, a lot of times those will decay. So I have a lot of friends that keep a lot of college friends because they're band directors. And so they went to school with band directors, and so they're still kind of in the same circle. And because I am no longer a band director, it's like I don't, even when I lived in California, I just didn't really see those people anymore, right? Like the friendship becomes a memory and not really a thing real because they don't need anything from me anymore. And that was a hard lesson too, is that I realized most of the people that I went to college with weren't really my friends. They were my friends because I could help them somehow. I had gear that they needed to borrow, or I knew all the answers for the music theory test, or I could do something for them. They weren't really interested in me. They weren't really even interested in anything I had to do artistically. They didn't give a shit about whether I had a gig or not. They wanted me to come to their gig because they wanted support. They wanted people to pay for their shows, but they never went to anyone else's shows because the truth is, like, you could say people are bad, people are selfish. That's just the default thing. The default thing is, how can I get other people to do things for me? And they'll only really do things for other people when they feel that it's going to give them a benefit. My generation especially is intensely transactional, and I've seen the fallout from that, is that most of my friendships were transactional, even though I didn't realize they were, and I didn't necessarily want them to be transactional. They were transactional. It was about what are we each getting out of this in that moment, and there wasn't any kind of real deep, there was no charity there. There wasn't a love that went beyond, I'm getting something out of this. For the vast majority of friendships, there are some exceptions, right? But for the most part, most of your friendships are going to be a matter of proximity and mutual benefit. And when those things aren't there, that friendship will go away. So with that in mind, when you make friends, it's you be in proximity and you have some sort of mutual thing involved, right? So if you go to work with someone, you can be friends with that person because you have work in common. And you go to church with someone, you become church friends with that person because you have church in common. And thing about church friends is a lot of them, it's like if you move one town over and go to a different parish, go to a different church, you probably never talk to that person again. They might drop you a line every once in a while. They might comment on a Facebook post, but they're not going to be really active in your life. That's the truth about friendships. Most friends are friends for a reason or a season. Very few friends are friends for a lifetime. And then a lot of your choices are going to alienate you from friends that you have made, and you need to know that as well. I wrote about this a little bit with the article HealthNet. I lost friends because I got into good shape. I lost friends because I lost weight. So when I got thin, I lost friends. Why? For a bunch of reasons. Right? I wasn't doing the things that we had in common anymore. I wasn't drinking. So if I'm not drinking with you anymore, it's like I don't exist. There's no reason to do. What do you do? Like, what's your social? If your social activity is drinking and I don't drink, then I'm just not part of that. I'm just not part of your social life anymore. Same thing with potheads, right? If you're not smoking pot, you're not friends with a pothead because that's the thing that they do. You know, there were friends that, like, when I stopped playing World of Warcraft, I just never talked to them again because that was the extension of our social interaction, was playing online games. And when I no longer was able to do that because of scheduling, then the friendship decayed. Even real life friends that I thought were going to continue and be good friends forever would stop talking to me because I wasn't playing a game with them, or because I said I didn't like the game. That's enough, right? Or I get thin, because if you get thin, then that casts a judgment on people who are fat. Obviously it does, because you're choosing to change that. So you get fit, or you focus on fitness, and then you have friends at the gym. That's your mutual thing. And your fat friends think you're an asshole and a health nut, and they don't like you anymore because you've chosen a lifestyle that's different from theirs, right? Like a deep and abiding love for another person where you really care about that other person is extremely rare. And I'm saying that so that you can take that black pill, a bitter truth, swallow it, have some perspective, and understand that most of your friendships, when you have them, you can enjoy them and treasure them, but they're probably temporary. It'd be nice if they weren't, but most of them are going to be temporary and to some mutual understanding or benefit. And so the way that you make friends is you have something in mutual in common with other people, and then the friendship develops out of that. It's through shared experiences. You could go down to just pick a bar. You could pick a bar and go down and drink at that bar every Wednesday night, and you'll make a friend there. I've done it. But what happens when you stop drinking? That friend goes away. Been there too. You know? It's a bitter pill, but it's real. So that's how you make friends, but chances are they're not going to last. Most of your friendships are not going to be permanent friendships. And you just kind of accept that, and you have to be okay with it. I remember reading this green text post where the guy's like, I felt like I was always doing all of the social work for my friends. Like, I was the one always inviting people. I was the one always having people come over and do stuff. I was the one doing things for everybody else. So I just did an experiment where I stopped doing that. I stopped initiating and waited for other people to initiate. I stopped having parties and inviting people to come and waited for people to invite me to their parties, and nobody contacted me. Nobody sent me a text message. Nobody invited me to a party. Nobody initiated any contact with me. And so it's like I told my therapist this, and my therapist said, you were always alone. You just know it now. And it's like, man, that's a hard truth for a therapist to pass out, but it's true, right? It's like, you know, you're making an effort and the other person's not, and I've done this where I was just like, well, okay, well, I'm going to see what happens when I stop throwing the parties. And the answer is there's no parties that happen. Now, is that other person going to a party? It's like, I found out that they're not going to other people's parties. They just don't do anything. They just don't really care about you. They find something else to do on Friday night. They just don't care. They just didn't really care that much about you or talking to you. They probably didn't have any malice towards you, and they probably never even thought about this. Most people don't engage in this kind of introspective thinking about themselves and others and how other people think. They just act. They just do. That's most normies. Most normies just act. They just do. They don't reflect. They don't think. They just kind of do things. You heard that thing like there's a bunch of people that don't have an internal monologue. There's a lot of people who don't have an internal monologue. They're not really considering this. They don't think, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while. Maybe I'll give him a call. He hasn't had a party. He used to have a party like every week. I wonder if there's something going on with him. Occasionally there's people that are like that, and you'll know that because they'll contact you. And I've had those friendships stick around. But you'll also know the people that it's like, I could be dead, and they really wouldn't care. It really wouldn't matter much to them if I was dead or alive. I just don't matter to them. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is, right? So temper your expectations about friendships. Enjoy friendships for what they are, but know that most of them are probably not going to be permanent. Internet friends are nice, but they're also really easy to lose over time due to changing interests, real life stuff, political disputes, etc. Yep. I've had internet friends that have stuck around a long time that I still talk to. But real life friends, it's the same idea. Yeah, same thing in art. Support them, but otherwise your competition. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I learned is your friends are not your audience. They don't care about what you're doing, really at all, unless you can help them. They have you on their contact list because they're like, he knows how to record, so he can answer my questions, or he can help me this, or I could borrow a microphone, or I could borrow some gear. That's what I was in college after a while. I was the guy people wanted to borrow gear from. And then I had one guy who just didn't return my gear, and I had to go get it. He just left it at a church, and the church thought it was theirs. And I was like, this guy left this at a gig and he wouldn't return it. And it's like, that's it. I'm not lending anybody anything. And I love helping people out, but I realized that helping people out because they didn't feel like investing in gear. That's what it was. They didn't feel like buying an amplifier that was good. Why would they? They can just borrow mine. They're not, I took the time to save my money and to invest it in things that I was using for my craft. And I love helping people out. And if somebody's poor, I want to help them out too. But I realized after a while, people will just take advantage of you and they don't really care. And moreover, it wasn't like this person ever helped me out in any way ever. In fact, they actively tried to undermine everything I did behind my back. You find out about that stuff later, right? They just don't view you as a human being. They view people as resources to exploit. And that's a sociopathic example. But even the normie just doesn't think about it, right? They keep these people around like, oh yeah, Dave, he probably has a bass guitar I could borrow. Dave, can I borrow your bass guitar? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's here, so I guess you could borrow it. But I realized after a while, I never borrowed anything from anyone else. I never borrowed money. I never borrowed anything from anyone. I borrowed money from a friend one time, I think, and then I paid him back. So I remember one time that I got a loan from a friend. My friend Jerry loaned me $200 one time so I could buy a piece of gear, and then I paid him back after my next paycheck. No interest. You don't charge interest between friends. The friends I had in high school left within 6 months to a year after graduation. There are some people I've talked to occasionally over the years, but that's it. Yep. Have you read The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis? Yes, years ago. That was a hard lesson to learn too, that your friends weren't real friends but business partners, more or less. In high school, they're more like fellow prisoners. You're there to the mutual benefit of avoiding the ire of the guards, and that's it. Yep, always had to initiate. And that's, people just rely, I realize that normal people the social circle is stuck together by one glue person who pulls everybody together. And my wife has been this person too for her friends before, and it gets exhausting. It's like, no one invites me anything. It's like, because nobody ever thinks to do something. They just react. They're not active, they're reactive. And that's how it is. Kestrel says he's run that experiment. It's always dark when you run that experiment. Everyone should do it though. If you feel like I'm the one who's organizing everything, say I'm going to try not, and I want to see what happens. And you'll probably be very disappointed, but then you can swallow the black pill, absorb the bitterness, have a more realistic view of life, and move on with things. Be like, well, the truth is, if you want friends around, then you have to have something for the friends to do with you. You have to entertain them. You have to find a way to do it. Scott Adams has said this about if you have social anxiety, throw parties. Be the host, because now you have a job. And so you're going to view that as a job, and you're going to try to do a good job at that rather than worrying about people liking you, you're going to, my job is to make sure other people are comfortable. And that's what you do. You talk to people to make them comfortable, you get them drinks, and you be a good host. And that's the reality, is like, hey man, if you want to make friends, like throw a block party and meet people in the neighborhood, you know. We used to have apartment parties and have our neighbors come over, stuff like that, you know. Set up a pigeon shoot with guys at church or something. I did go to their parties, but I had to bring booze with me or I couldn't go. I was just an ATM for folks. As soon as I had no money, I didn't exist. Makes me wonder why I kept calling them friends. Well, you called them friends because they were in proximity and they had there was some kind of mutual interest there. You know, they're in proximity. Oh, man. Sorry. Woo. Yeah, you're in proximity and there's some kind of mutual interest there. That's really what it is. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. That's what happens. And I'm not trying to be super black-pilled. It's just everybody has this thing where they really want fellowship, and it's really hard to find in the modern world. You're going to have a really hard time finding fellowship, and you should enjoy every relationship for what it is. You know, he's a coworker and I like him. And so he's a work friend. He goes to church with me and I like him and we hang out sometimes. He's a church friend. You know. I go to school with him. He's a friend from school. You know. It's unfortunate, but it's true. You know, it's like the guys I know who are in the army. It's like even their army buddies, once they get out of the army, it's like they're gone, you know. They disappear from the proximity and they disappear from your life, even if you were, you know, literally in combat together. It makes a strong bond, but that's not, unless you're investing in it, that can decay as well, and it often does. What did I name the girl? Argentia, that's right. I changed her name. big dog is still here. It's barking. My little dog is gone. There's someone at my door. Yes, I do write books live. One of the books I wrote live. Oh, let's get the old light up here. One of the books I wrote live is in this giant anthology, which you can only get for Christmas season. I'm going to take it off in July, not July, in January, so it'll disappear. So yeah, Sorcerer's Blood. It's in here. Sorcerer's Blood. So I wrote that one live, edited it, published it live, did all that stuff for everybody live. So this is another one. Hopefully I'll finish it before the new year, and that'll be part of this. But this is the first 10 Eternal Dream books, chronologically. So you can grab that. I'll link it again. So yes, I did that live. People were asking me to do it for years, and so that's why. It's because people asked me to do it. They're like, you should write books live. I'm like, that sounds dreadfully boring, but people have been asking me to do it forever, so that's what I did this year. I'm trying to think how much is in it. I'm not sure. It's about as much Lord of the Rings. It's about as much as Lord of the Rings. It's like 500,000 words, maybe. I'm not sure how much all the Lord of the Rings is. It's probably longer. But I couldn't fit any more into this and be able to print it. Let's see. 480,000 words. So I think there's like 420 in that. So it's getting there. It's hard to, because of like printing limitations, it's hard to get that in there and have it still be like readable, like a good reading experience. Because they still have to do it. It's the biggest cut that you can get. It's double columns. I could make them even smaller. Like I could make them like really small, like Bible small, and fit it all in there, but that probably wouldn't be as good to read or as fun to read as like a full size font. I think that's size 10 font and with Arno. No, is it Arno? No, it's Caslon. I think I used Caslon for this one, not Arno. I think I used Caslon, which is a good font. It has a lot of spacing in the lines, the way Adobe designed it, so that's good. I mean, I might have been able to fit more with like Minion, where it gets really small, but it's when you get it small, you need a little bit more space in the line. So that's the best way that I could find to do it. I still had to leave 3 books out. I had to leave the Moonsong books out, which is unfortunate. But, you know, they're like it's a different timeline. It's a really different series. So, yeah. Looks great. I've been into indie stuff lately. Great. So I've been getting into all these different channels popping up in my recommendations. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I'm almost done here. I got about 5 more minutes. How much have we Let's figure out how much we've written today, even with the breaks and the rants. Stop, make a rant about friendship. $2,500 words. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Finishes up the chapter that I want to finish up. Some days I can write like 3,500, 4,000 words. This is a really good climax, so I'm like really want to write it, but I'll probably save it for next week because I need to help my wife prepare for this giant block party we're supposed to have tomorrow, but we're also supposed to have thunderstorms, so it may not happen, which is unfortunate, you know. So we had my wife has all kinds of crazy things planned for that. If we lose that, that'll be unfortunate, but it happens. Block party like in Crime Story. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Crime Story is. Sorry. If it's a TV show, I probably don't know what it is because I don't watch TV shows at all. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a neighborhood party. Party for the neighborhood put on by the Civic Club. Something stuck under my nail that's like hurting. Ouch. A little sliver or something under my nails. All your books fantasy, or do you write crime fiction too? I don't know if any of it's crime fiction. Eyes in the Walls. I mean, I write horror. I mean, I don't write anything that's super close to crime fiction. Maybe Demon Ex Machina. But you can get this one for free by getting on my mailing list. I'll link the mailing list here. Michael Mann of Miami Vice. Michael Mann of Heat. Manhunter. That's what I think of with Michael Mann. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Sounds cool. I wasn't sure if Crime Story was something new. I haven't watched everything by Michael Mann. 1960 Chicago and Las Vegas. That's cool. I lived in Las Vegas for 2 years, or as a performer. From Ecuador with love. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Totally picking a Muramasa. I like summer stuff. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one. I had a lot of fun writing it. It was a book I always wanted to write, and then I wrote it, and that was cool. It always feels good. I really need to like stitch it up. I really need to be done here. You got a huge list, Mr. David. I think we're in for a treat. I hope so. Hope there's something there you like. There's horror stuff, sci-fi horror like Voices of the Void. I got a bunch of books. They're all back here. What else? Patrons, by the way, I'll link Patreon again. Patrons get Afterglow Generation Y, which is my literary fiction collection. They get that this week. This month. So that's the free book for the month. You get a free book every month. And there it is. Let's link everything. Yeah. So we will write more of the what's the word? The climax later. So here we go. Eternal Dream Christmas. Grab that. It's a huge collection. The ebook's only $9.99, so that's a pretty big value. To get all the books it's a lot less than what you'd get if you had to buy them all separately. So there's a lot of value with that. Plus, it's a limited time deal, so hopefully people will like that. Thanks for dropping by at the stream. I really do appreciate it. and everybody hanging out. I'll link the mailing list again. I'll link the music channel. Where is it? So if you like the music, here's the music channel. I'm gonna work up to 100 improvs, and then we're gonna do something else with the music channel. I think I'm gonna do some soundtrack music or something. I haven't decided yet. We'll find out. So people are like, you need to do the metal album. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's hard to get excited for metal when I feel like the market is falling out of it, but maybe it's just something to do. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll consult my heart to figure out what's going on next year. I do want to do a visual novel, so that might be in the works as well. But I have so many books that I need to like tie up and like get out that I don't know. It's hard to decide what to work on. But anyway, thanks for dropping by, everybody. I will see you all next time. Have a great, great day. If there's anything I forgot to link, I'll link the book one more time. The big book. Big book. There it is. All right. I think that's it. I'll link a sci-fi horror book because I haven't linked it in a while. Let me find my big book of links. Where is it? Can't find it. I have so many books here. Where is it? I'm just gonna Voices of the Void. I'm just gonna Google it. Should be the first result. There it is. Alright, we'll link that. That'll be the last thing. Sci-fi horror. I think it's like 99-cent ebook, so yeah. Alright, that's it. Have a great one. I'll see you all next time.